Okay, so this video, the purpose is to really show and demonstrate proportions for similar right triangles. And I'm going to prove these three equations here for this given triangle. So with this triangle here, we don't know what this angle or this angle is equal to, but we know that this is a 90 degree, and so this is also 90 degrees. And if you notice, we're going to be dealing with similar right triangles. For example, I could say that this is 20 degrees, then this would be 70 degrees because this is a right triangle. This whole thing is a right triangle. If that is the case, then this is 20, then this one must be 70 because you want 180 degrees. So you want this triangle right here to be 180 degrees. You want this triangle here to also be 180 degrees, and you want the whole triangle to be 180 degrees. And so if I said this was 20, this was 70, then this is also 70, and that means this is also 20. So as an example, this could be 50, then this could be 40, then this would have to be 40, and this would have to be 50. Another case, this could be 80, this could be 10, then this would have to be 10, and this would have to be 80. And so now we're going to prove that first equation. So I label this whole triangle. I'll call this triangle here triangle 1, this triangle here triangle 2, and this whole triangle as triangle 3. If I say triangle 2, z, what does z correspond to? For triangle 2, z corresponds to 10 degrees. This would equal x. What does x correspond to for triangle 1? Again, this is 10 degrees, so this also should be 10 degrees. So that would be x. So divided by. So this bottom, I have x. What does x correspond to for triangle 2? That corresponds to 80 degrees. And so for triangle 1, what corresponds to 80 degrees? And that is y. So now we can do cross multiplication. X times x is x squared is equal to y times z. So for this triangle here, x squared is equal to y times z. Now the second equation that we saw, we can do triangle 1 and triangle 3. Okay, with triangle 1, I have a y. Y corresponds to 80 degrees, is equal to. So for triangle 3, what corresponds to 80 degrees? And if you look at this whole triangle, a is here, and that corresponds to 80 degrees, and so I put a. Divided by. For triangle 1, what corresponds to a? For triangle 1 is this. What corresponds to a? That's this 90 degrees. And so for triangle 3, what is 90 degrees? This piece right here, which corresponds to y plus z. And so we could say that a squared is equal to y times parentheses y plus z. Okay, now for the third equation. So we can focus on triangle 3. Triangle 3, the big whole triangle. What corresponds to c? C corresponds to this 10 degrees. And for triangle 2, what corresponds to 10 degrees? Triangle 2, what corresponds to 10 degrees? That's going to be z. Divided by, I have y plus z. Y plus z for triangle 3 is this 90 degree piece. And so for triangle 2, the 90 degree piece is c right here. So z divided by c. So we get c squared is equal to z times parentheses y plus z. So we proved the third equation. And so now I can give you this problem, and I want you to solve for x, a, and c. And so if you want, you could pause the video here and solve for yourself. And so for this first equation, my goal, my whole purpose is to solve for x. And so, I don't know, 10 degrees corresponds to 64 is equal to. So what corresponds to 10 degrees? For triangle 1, it's going to be x. So I put an x here, divided by. And I chose x. I want to solve for x. So for triangle 2, what corresponds to x? And that would be 80 degrees. And so for triangle 1, I will choose the 80 degree part, which is 36. So 64 times 36 is this number, is equal to x squared. And then we solve for x. X is 48. Now here, it's kind of important. Once we know x, in reality, we can use Pythagorean theorem. We could say 36 squared plus 48 squared is equal to a squared and solve for a. Likewise, we can say 64 squared plus 48 squared is equal to c squared and solve for c. But we can still use the whole proportions of similar right triangles. So here I'm using triangle 1 and triangle 3, and here I'm using triangle 2 and triangle 3. So with triangle 1, I got 36. I chose 36. 36 corresponds to 80 degrees, and A corresponds to 80 degrees for triangle 3. See, 80 degrees, A. And for triangle 1, I chose A. A corresponds to 90 degrees. And so for triangle 3, what corresponds to 90 degrees? This is 90 degrees. It corresponds to 36 plus 64. That's how we got 100. So here I will choose, I think this is actually triangle 3, and this is triangle 2. With triangle 3, what corresponds with C? Triangle 3, the whole triangle, that would mean 10 degrees. And so for triangle 2, what corresponds with 10 degrees? Triangle 2, what corresponds with 10 degrees is 64 divided by. So for triangle 3, what corresponds with 100? That's going to be 90 degrees. 36 plus 64 is 90 degrees. And so for triangle 2, what corresponds with 90 degrees? And that's going to be C. And so you do cross multiplication. C squared is equal to 6400. And so C is equal to 80. And so this is our labeled triangle. We can obviously check using Pythagorean theorem. 36 squared plus 48 squared is equal to 60 squared. 64 squared plus 48 squared is equal to 80 squared. And triangle 3, we have 60 squared plus 80 squared is equal to 100 squared. And that's pretty much it regarding proportions for similar right triangle.